We are gonna go ahead and review the patch note reviews that were dropped yesterday, which include the brand new hero Sora, as well as a bunch of other hero changes which I've seen. Once again, I'm going into this blind. I do not know what has changed, so I'm gonna give my reactions and analysis live in person, first time reaction for all of you guys as per usual. So let's just jump straight into it, right? So, in this patch, the designers say we continue to optimize the experience for roaming heroes, including some less used ones and various roaming blessings. More roam optimization. I feel like we need to address the gold lane issue, but okay. We hope every roaming hero can show their unique strengths. Good luck ranking up on the battlefield, because you are going to need it. So, as per usual, we're not gonna review Sora because we've already reacted to him. If you guys haven't, do check out my reaction to the Sora Hero Spotlight, as well as the live stream on my YouTube channel. It would literally be the video right before this patch note video, so please go check that out. But because we've already reacted to him, we're not going to analyze him here. We're gonna focus on all of the other adjustments. Gin says that's Sora gay though, so you can do with that what you will. Also, hello Sila, it has been a while. Welcome to the stream. Very short stream today, by the way, guys. We're gonna try and blitz through this because I need to go out after this. Alright, so we got Freya buff. Freya's combat effectiveness was relatively weak without her ultimate, which has always been the case. To improve balance while preserving her highlight performance during her ultimate, we've reduced ult cooldown on Freya. Interesting. Okay. Hold on, let me adjust the stream volume real quick. Let me adjust my BGM real quick just to make sure it's not too loud, so that you guys can hear me properly. Okay. Reduced Freya ult cooldown is actually very big because, like they say, Freya is very ult dependent. So ultimate cooldown from 54 to 46 to 34-26. Wow, that's actually huge. Gain 50% damage reduction while diving down and increased speed while diving down. This is actually huge. This is actually a massive change. That is like nearly half of the original cooldown, which is also very necessary, right? Because nowadays there's a lot of fighting in the game, and a lot of heroes that were scaled with ultimates based on old cooldown timings are just not really keeping up with things. Like, look at, if you compare other fighters, like look at Lapu Lapu, for example, right? His ult cooldown is like what, 10-12 seconds ish? Oh, he has it every fight. In fact, he can probably use his ult multiple times every fight if it lasts long enough. Compare that to heroes like Freya, who are very ult dependent, just like Lapu Lapu, but have like triple the cooldown timing, quadruple technically before this. It's still not matching Lapu's timing, but personally I think they need to nerf Lapu's ult cooldown. I do think it's way too low, or at least nerf his other numbers because he is just way too strong right now. But Freya having a 26-second cooldown on her ultimate is huge at late game. And then if you add on some CD items, this can probably go down to about 20 seconds, which means that she will probably be able to ult every single fight, which is necessary because Freya literally cannot do anything without her ult. So this is actually a really nice change, really good update. I'm surprised it took so long, you know, especially after they revamped her. I'm kind of surprised they still kept her ult cooldown so long, but this is a very good update, very good change. Will this make Freya meta? Probably not. I still think that if she's going to be played, she's most likely going to be a gold lane fighter, but then you would still prefer like Ruby or CC. And then I do think that certain marksmen are starting to come back into the meta as well, like Claude, Granger and Harif are always good as well. So I don't think Freya's gonna be meta, but this is going to make her a lot better to play. And it might make her a niche pick in certain situations where other gold lane fighters have been banned, right, in pro play. So that's good. Alright, hello Dolph Caller, welcome to the stream, welcome. Alright, next we have a Zusin adjustment. Reduced Zusin's excessive sustained control capabilities, but increased her damage. Interesting. So Zusin has always been known to have like ridiculous sustain when it comes to crowd control, but in exchange she just basically does no damage at all. So that's kind of the trade-off that you have to play with. So they're trying to balance her out, which is interesting. Alright. Oh, Jaro says Mel QT used Freya Gold, but he got taunted 1,000,000 times by Key Boys got taunt. Yeah, that's also an example of the issue. Okay, so mana regen on her passive from each Crimson Butterfly reduced to 3% from 5%, and the regen interval has been increased. So she will regen mana a lot slower, which is not good, because Zusin spends mana really quickly to do her usual crowd control stuff. Her skill 2 base damage has been increased base by 2 to 7 damage, and then 2% magic power scaling. And then we have a 60% magic bonus against minions, so she's able to clear wave a little quicker. Smash damage has been rescaled from a completely flat number to a flat number plus a max HP percentage damage. Can now capture Tigreal and throw him onto Layla, dealing damage based on Tigreal's max HP. Okay, you know what? That warrants the passive nerf. That is actually really big. Hold on. Soul Snare stacking interval increased, so it takes longer for her to pick someone up, which is annoying. And then new effect, after knocking enemy heroes airborne, the target cannot be marked with Soul Snare again for 4 seconds. During this time, the skill deals increased damage to that target. And then applying Soul Snare costs... What? They've just changed it back. They took away the thing where it doesn't cost mana unless you're hitting heroes. They just reversed the previous buff where they made it so that it's free to use on minions. Okay, that doesn't feel very good. And then the ultimate Soul Snare snacking interval has been reduced. So basically the ultimate will stack her passive faster, but skill 2 will stack passive slower. It always costs mana now, including when used to scout bushes and clear minions, which is very bad, especially with the passive nerf as well, because Zusin will have mana issues. She's no longer as efficient as just a mid lane pick, because she just will have mana issues. She's not able to freely kill waves, she's not able to consistently poke people out for free. It takes longer to pick people up, and the only thing that they've done in exchange is make it so that her skill 2 does percentage HP based on the target picked up, which is good. I think it's really nice that her skill 2 does percentage damage based on target pickup, but everything else is really bad. Like, she still, even with the buffs, she still does way less damage to other sustained mages like Farsa and Eve and Lunox. Right? She still does way less damage. The only reason you would pick Zusin is because of her control, because of her utility, right? Because she can scout bushes easily, because she can poke for free most of the time, because it's so difficult to get away from her if you don't have dashes. But they've taken all of that away in exchange for not enough damage to match up to other mages. This is going to kill Zusin. I agree with Kuruel. I think Zusin is going to die. I don't think anyone's going to pick Zusin anymore. The only time you would ever pick Zusin now is if you're facing like 3 tanks, right? If the enemy team is like all slow heroes, mostly like tanky frontliners, then yes, you can play Zusin. But we all know that's not the meta right now. Even with double fighter side lane, you will usually play like faster heroes. You'll still have Hayabusa and Lancelot roaming around. It just feels not very good for her in pro play. Obviously, she's still gonna be good in pubs because 15% of max HP is a lot of damage, by the way, right? So if you do play her against tanks, she will do a lot of damage, especially since it also does the damage based on people that she throws the target onto. But the loss of utility is going to be felt very badly, right? She can still be played, but she was already losing popularity compared to her heyday, and I think this will drop her more in pick rate. She's a very niche mid lane counter now. You only pick her if you have enough damage in every other lane, and you're playing against multiple frontline tanks. That's about it. Those are the only conditions. You would end up playing Lilia for that, no? Yeah, we did see some Lilia in like the women's SEA Games finals, right? So yeah, this feels a bit bad. This does feel a bit bad. I think it would have been fine if they kept the skill 2 only costing mana when it hits a hero, with all the other nerfs as well, but the fact that they nerfed the regen and also nerfed the mana cost is maybe a bit too heavy-handed, I will say. Okay, ooh, Liam Ward Ba, alright. Leomord's passive relied on enemies being at low health to be effective, which didn't align with our design expectations. But that's unique! That's like unique! Are they taking that away? We want Leomord to take the initiative by gaining Oathkeeper energy through combat to deal crit damage while recovering HP for sustain, making him a knight capable of charging into battle. Oh, I guess Burst Zeus'in is an option. That's true. We've also increased skill 1's damage against creeps to improve Leomord's jungle clearing efficiency. Okay, that's nice. To balance this, we remove the shield. No, you don't need to do that! I do feel like Moonton is a bit too afraid to buff heroes without nerfing something in exchange. Like, I get it, it's a MOBA, balance is always like a very difficult balancing act. But I really don't like that anytime they nerf a hero, or sorry, anytime they buff a hero, especially if it's a non-meta hero, they feel like they have to nerf it. It's not like he even gets that much shield, just let him keep it. Okay, revamp passive. Leomord's basic attacks and skills gain 25 Oathkeeper. Is he an energy hero? Did they make Leomord energy? Gains energy for each target. Okay, so he gains energy based on how many people he hits. When the energy reaches... Oops, I scrolled up. When the energy hits 100, his next basic attack deals 200% crit damage and recovers 100 plus 10 times hero level plus 15% extra max HP. That's quite a lot of healing. And then he will get it every 4 hits, which is fairly frequent, but if you are chasing one person down, you're not gonna get that very much. It means that they want Leomord to dive into multiple people at once. You ideally want Leomord to be 1v2 because then 2 basic attacks and skills and his ult will give him maximum and then he can get this. If there's no cooldown on his enhanced basic attack, this actually is quite strong. Leomord's basic attacks cannot normally crit, and every 1% crit chance is converted to 1% crit damage. Interesting. Mounted stage, each energy... Oh, okay, wait, hold on. If he's in his ult, the Oathkeeper energy gain is increased to double. Okay, then he can 1v1. Alright, never mind. He can 1v1 perfectly fine. Skill 1, remove the effect of shield. Damage against creeps increased to 200%. Okay, 200% skill damage to creeps is huge. Makes Leomord farm very, very fast. Energy is interesting, but it looks like he's not super energy dependent. It's closer to Irritel. This is closer to Irritel than Fanny, which is confusing because he is a jungle hero, so people might think, oh, is he like Fanny and Ling and Nolan where he needs purple buff to do stuff? Does purple buff affect his energy? If it does, then it'll probably buff him a lot, but I feel like the way this works, it probably doesn't. He is more based on how many hits he does, right? So you actually might want to go a little bit of attack speed, but you also want to build him as a sustain fighter and some crit. Leomord might have a lot of different build styles. You could go sustain fighter, you could go into crit. It's literally like Gwyn passive, is what Ray says. Yeah, I can see that. So it's not really purple buff dependent. It's more of fighting dependent, which I guess makes sense. It does. You know what? This is interesting. Just the jungle clear efficiency is actually very big because nowadays heroes are highly valued for being able to clear jungle quickly. And now his extra damage is not based on enemy HP but rather based on his energy, which is not difficult to get, right? Especially since he gets double the energy in his ultimate, which is on a fairly low cooldown. Not as low as it could be, but on a fairly low cooldown. Leomord could be not bad, actually. I'm gonna be honest, Leomord could be not bad. I actually want to try him out. It does depend on how his damage and numbers will pass by. But at max HP, max level, he would get 100 plus 10 times 15, which is 250, and then 15% of his extra max HP. So you will get some HP. If you build Sustain Fighter and you go into things like Brute Force Breastplate and then maybe Dominance Ice, you actually do get a good amount of HP. So that actually heals a lot. And if there's no cooldown on his basic attack, it's purely based on energy, he could actually go really ham. He feels snowball based, but that's how Leomord has always been as well, since he is a fighter jungler. It is a different playstyle for sure, but his damage is less conditional on enemy HP. Like, he doesn't need to be attacking people at low HP in order to actually do things. This might actually be pretty big, I will be honest. There's a good chance that this makes Leomord kind of viable. I don't think he'll be super meta, because assassins are still kind of king right now. It's hard to beat the iframes and mobility of Lancelot, for example. But he might be a good conditional pick under certain situations. This one will need some testing. I'm gonna try him out when I have the chance. Ooh, Angela. Okay, Angela's in a really weird state right now. Increased duration of Angela's ult. Are they reversing the previous change? When attached to allies and the cast frequency of skill 1. Additionally, the cooldown now runs while attached. Okay. Kurul asked, can gold lane Leomord be used because of this buff? Not impossible, actually, especially since his clear speed also affects lane minions. Not impossible for gold lane Leomord. Okay, the balance will reduce movement speed boost of the passive and increase... They have reversed her heart guard changes, lol. So her previous heart guard changes reduced the amount of shield that heart guard gave in exchange for a shorter duration and cooldown, so you could spam it more. But that was a problem because you actually did need more heart guard shield. So they've just reversed it. Okay. Move speed per stack on her passive reduced to 5%. How many is the max stacking of Angela? Hold on. Angela's max passive stack is... So it's up to 20%. So it's a 2 point... So that means it's 4 stacks. And there was a 2.5% nerf on each stack. So it used to be 30% then. So it's a 10% max movement speed reduction, which is fairly notable. But I will also say that sometimes Angela just supercharges fighters a bit too much, even as someone who likes being supercharged. So I think this is actually an okay nerf to balance it out a bit. Skill 1 cooldown increased by 1 second, but when attached, this cooldown is reduced by 50%. So you will see love waves get spammed the shit out of during hard guard, which is actually way more valuable than the move speed in a lot of situations, and that can be very annoying. It actually helps match up to the AoE healing of heroes like Florian and Estes, because the problem on Angela was that she just did not have enough AoE healing compared to other healer supports. So by being able to spam heart waves more often during hard guard, if you go for big 5v5 Ube types fights, then she can actually benefit a lot more. Ultimate cooldown has been tripled back to 60 seconds. Holy shit. But the attaching state is now 20 seconds of hard guard? Was it that long before? 20 seconds is a long fudging time, dude. So that means there's a downtime of 40 seconds on hard guard, which I guess is okay, but 60 seconds does actually feel very long. Shield duration 6 seconds to the shield remains until detached. And then adjusted cooldown mechanics will start immediately after casting the ultimate. What? Okay. This is going to make Angela popular again. This 20 seconds and the shield remains the entire time is a massive early game boost. So Angela Baxia is going to be crazy ridiculous. Angela, any fighter or tank, is going to be crazy ridiculous. In exchange, yes, you don't have hard guard as often, but it's not like it was supposed to be needed that much anyway. You only want to use it during the big team fights. You do have to be a bit more selective with it because a 40-second downtime is actually quite long. But now, you get the shield for way longer. Angela remains basically invincible for longer by choice. And then you get to spam heart waves a lot more easily. Yeah, Angela is gonna be popular again. Even when she was in her previous state, Angela was still being picked up, even though she was large, like her success rate was kind of low. With this, yeah, she's gonna be back. Oh my god, that's annoying. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this as a, you know, as a healer hater myself. Okay, Rafaela. Increase. Are they healing? Are they buffing all the healers, man? I see Estes down there. I'm gonna hate this shit. Increase Raphaela's healing and speed up effects. Skill 2, magic bonus on the additional healing for self and the most injured allied hero has been increased to 65%. Is this the patch where they've changed Raphaela to only heal one person plus herself? Hold on. Because I heard about that. That is something that I heard about. Is this that patch? Where is Ra? No, okay. It's still AoE, it's just that she heals more for the lowest HP ally. Okay. So it's not that patch yet. So yeah, she will heal her lowest HP ally more, which is nice. That does help, because I do feel like Raphaela's healing is still a bit low. Movement speed bonus increases by 1% for every 20 magic power has been changed to 1% for every 10 magic power. Wow, Raphaela can make the team go fast. Holy shit. And then her ultimate cooldown has been reduced. Honestly, I think they can afford to reduce the ultimate cooldown more, I'm gonna be honest. I hate healers, but Raphaela's ult is so bad. Raphaela's health is like so low value compared to the kind of abilities you see in the game nowadays that I feel like they can actually afford to reduce this more. But she now heals herself and one person more than before. 20% is actually fairly notable. And then you get an extra, like basically you get double the movement speed compared to before, which is quite a lot. The issue is Raphaela is still not gonna be as valuable as other heroes, right? Because if you want movement speed, then you would usually go Hylos, right? Hylos is usually going to be a bit more efficient for you. That's why you always see Hylos being picked into Eve and stuff. If Hylos is banned, then yeah, but Hylos isn't popular enough to be banned a lot of the time. If he is, and you really need movement speed, then Raph is going to be very valuable against heroes like Eve, for example, or like Lilia and Valier. But it's not like those heroes are that popular outside of Eve. So Raphaela is still very, very niche. And her ult does probably need a revamp, I'm gonna be honest. I think she needs a higher value ultimate. But this is a nice buff for Raphaela that may make her a very conditional niche pick in pro play. Hi, why are they buffing Estes? Enhance Estes' sustained healing and the ability to protect fragile heroes. He already heals too much! Dude. Her ult should be her passive. I agree with you, Layla. I do think that Raph's passive should be her ult. It makes some more sense. Estes already healed too much, man. I'm gonna ban him in every game now. Sustained healing increased from 250, 400 base to 360, 585 base. Plus an extra 30% magic power. Oh my god. 5 seconds of hybrid defense increase. Cooldown increased by 1.5 seconds at late game. Mana cost reduced by how? Oh. What the fudge? Enhanced Moonlight doubles hybrid defense! I'm perma-banning him. I don't want to play against this. It was already hard enough to kill the enemy team with Estes. Dude! They basically doubled his team sustain, dude. This is insane, dude. He heals an extra 100 across all levels flat, plus 30% magic power, plus 2 seconds of hybrid defense. It's half as expensive to cast. And then he gets extra hybrid defense in his ultimate for his entire team. No! Why? Are you kidding me? He doesn't need this! Oh no, I don't want this. Imagine Estes in a tank jungle double fighter comp. Oh, Jero says, oh, he actually needs this. I don't need to hear from the support hero main. Damn it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at this anymore. This is stupid. This is dumb, dude. Estes already ruins pub game experiences. Yes, he's not that good in pro play because pro players actually have the coordination needed to beat him. But even then, you can see how hard it is, right? We saw it in MPL MY the few times that MV played Estes. Even SRG took a while to kill their team during team fights despite having massive gold leads. This is dumb. I don't like this. No, please. Oh my god, I'm passing it over. I'm not gonna look at it anymore. Damn it, Moonton, why have you done this to me? Ube strats back diamond ass? I hope not. Could be a buff to Yumes. I don't want to see that kind of Yumes. Alright, Lolita buff. Increase the frequency of Lolita's shield in the mid to late game. Increase the damage and slow effect of her ultimate. And to balance, we reduce shield effect granted to allies. Okay. Remove the effect where shield is periodically granted to nearby allied heroes. Shield can still be granted when using skills. Oh. Oh, Nut has subbed! Thank you for the sub, Nut! I'll be going back to work, leaving this here. Thank you for the subscription, Nut. Good luck with work, sir. Okay, shield frequency every 6 seconds to every 6 to 3 seconds. Scales with Numenon blast level. So it reduces by 1 second every time you upgrade Numenon. So, it basically means that Lolita will no longer give shield to allies every couple seconds. She'll give a shield whenever she casts an ability. Which is better, I think, because it meant that if you were unlucky enough to not be near Lolita back then, you would just randomly not get the shield. Because it ticks every 6 seconds. So if you are near Lolita for 5 seconds, but you just happen to leave for that one last second, you don't get the shield. Now Lolita can control when to give the shield by casting a skill, which is very easy to do. So I like that a lot more. Skill 1 cooldown is no longer fixed, it's scaling to 8 seconds, which is good. I think it's very necessary. Base damage increased by 100 is actually a lot. 400 damage for her stun at level 1 is a lot. It doesn't mean as much in the late game, but this helps a lot in the early game, which is nice. Ultimate slow effect increased by 10%. The base damage increased by 100 at level 1, 300 at max level. And then each level up reduces the interval of the shield. So that's her passive right there. So this is a nice buff to Lolita. She's not gonna be very good still. Because Lolita is designed to counter projectile based heroes, which are marksmen. And marksmen are generally not that popular. You could argue that she could be played into Granger, but that's about it, right? And even then, Granger has ways of playing around it. Plus, the shield is hard countered by Esmeralda, which is very popular in the meta. And she doesn't have a lot of protective abilities to the team outside of her shield timing, so it's very easy to wait that out. And then Numenon Blast is not very reliable compared to other big AoE abilities too. So this is a nice upgrade for Lolita. It's gonna make her feel nicer to play, but she's not gonna be meta, 100%. Tigreal buff. Slightly increase the hero's ability to secure kills on Tigreal. Moonton, I don't know if you're aware of this about your own game, but Tigreal is a tank. He's not supposed to secure kills. I think we have bigger issues. Okay, skill 2 charge. Oh, so his Sacred Hammer is faster. Okay, but does it last as long? That's the question. It's faster, but I assume it lasts as long because, like, if it's faster but it lasts much shorter, that's actually not good. What the heck? 200 to 430 damage to 600 to 1000? That's more than double. Excuse me? Oh no, all the people playing damaged Tigreal in pubs are suddenly justified. Excuse me? 600 damage at level 4? Are you insane? Okay, that is an insane amount of damage, actually. But Tigreal still runs into issues where it's very easy for high mobility heroes in the current meta to avoid implosion in the first place, right? But then again, it has such high value now, even if you land it, that it might be worth playing him anyway. Why did they increase it so much? He's a tank? Guys, Moonton, he's a tank. He's not supposed to do damage? Wow. Assassin roam Tigreal, guys. What? That's so much damage. This one needs testing. I want to say that Tigreal is not going to be meta because he still has the same issues as before where he's very dependent on implosion, and if he's not able to land it well enough, then he just doesn't really do anything. But this gives a very high reward of if you land the implosion, you just murder the enemy team. That might actually be worth the risk. This might actually make Tigreal a viable pick. Crazy. EXP damage Tigreal. Check his stats, Gin says. Hold on. Does it scale? Wait, does his ult have scaling? It has scaling! Oh no! Damage Tigreal! Oh no, what have they done? Oh no! Okay, we'll just wait and see. Oh my god, yeah, even fleeting time would be enough because fleeting time does give damage stats. Oh my god. Okay. Johnson buff. Adjusted Johnson's damage bonus. Damage dealt directly by his wrench and car form. Scales with physical. Okay, this is the buff that we heard about as well, where they changed Johnson's scaling to physical defense to improve damage output. Sustained damage dealt by electrified zones will still scale with magic power. So the electrified zones deal magic, but the direct impact damage is physical defense, which makes so much more sense. Explosion damage bonus has been changed from 160 240 magic power to 240 360 physical defense, which is gonna hurt like a truck, which he is, but wow, that's gonna hurt. It's actually a similar situation to Tigreal, where Johnson is very conditional because like he needs to hit his car. And because he's gonna be driving around a lot of the time, he's not really present for team fights, which reduces his value. But now his ultimate will just hit hard while he is tanky. In the past, if you wanted his ultimate to hit hard, you had to exchange for his tankiness. And if you wanted to build him like a regular tank, then he wouldn't do enough damage. You don't have that issue anymore. You build him normally like a tank, and he will still hit pretty hard, which makes sense because he is a car and he's going to hit you, which means all of his defense is going to hit you. So that makes sense logically, canonically, and gameplay standpoint. Honestly, this might make Johnson viable as well. I'm gonna be honest, like the fact that he had to choose between damage or bulk in the past made him very difficult to play. Now he has a fixed build. You can still go magic if you want to be weird, but it makes a lot more sense to go tank now. And he's going to be viable. Okay, sure. Okay, Khufra. Improve Khufra's poke capability in the early to mid game, so passive cooldown reduced, which is actually really nice. So this is Khufra's ranged attack that flies to an enemy, hits them, flies back to him, and gives him HP. Khufra needs more sustained roaming around because he is going to be eating damage in bouncing ball form a lot of the time, so being able to heal off of it helps a lot. So this is a really nice quality of life improvement for Khufra. I do think that he is viable to play against assassins. It's just that the ones that are being played have ways of outplaying him. That's the difficult part. Alright. Atlas. Increase the ability of Atlas skill. Are they just giving all the tanks damage, dude? Okay. Skill 1 damage increased from 215 390 base to 400 double. My god. 400 600 plus 100% magic power, but each target can only be damaged once. What does that mean? That means that like he has 3 pulses, but each target can only be hit by 1 pulse. Is that what I'm understanding? That doesn't seem very good. Where is Atlas? Here. Causes 3 explosions. What? Am I understanding this wrong? It doesn't say that on his skill. That is his skill 1. Each target can be damaged only once. So it ends up doing about the same damage then, because you can't be hit by 3 different pulses. I'm going to need to test that. I don't really understand what that means. What? Could someone clarify what that means? Okay, then that means Atlas isn't too different from before, but he has pretty high damage scaling on skill 1, I will say. Compared to Tigreal though, I don't think damage Atlas is going to be very viable, so that's a bit unusual. I'm going to need to figure that out myself later on, because I don't actually know yet what that means. Okay, Hayabusa. Hayabusa nerf, okay. Hayabusa skill 2 allowed him to reach the backline too easily. For balance, we reduced his distance. To compensate, we've increased his skill. Reduce distance. Hayabusa and Phantom travel distance reduced by 20%. In exchange, it's 4 seconds faster early, 2 seconds faster late. And then his ultimate cooldown has been reduced by 10 seconds. 20% is a lot. That's 1/5. And does that apply to every Phantom? Is this updated in his... Hold on, where's Hayabusa? Do I own Hayabusa? Yeah, okay. What the? Wait! Is that... That's the distance? Dude, that's tiny. Yo, that's that's such a tiny circle, dude. What? Dude, that's nothing compared to old Hayabusa, which by the way was probably a bit too far, but damn. Holy shit, that's a massive nerf. Yes, he gets to cast it more frequently, but it's still a pretty long cooldown. Holy shit, that's a big nerf. Big nerf, big nerf. You know what? Hayabusa might be very like not good. Have they nerfed the Lance? If they didn't nerf Lance, I don't know what assassin we're going to play to counter him, because right now Hayabusa is the only one that could kind of match him. And that's a massive nerf, massive nerf. Even the ultimate cooldown reduction doesn't really make much of a difference there, because like that extra 20% travel distance is amplified. It's technically 40% because each shadow is reduced by 20, so on both sides it's like added together. Wow. Hayabusa, huge nerf. He is going to be a lot less popular because of this adjustment. Crazy. Okay. Necessary, but I kind of wonder if they were a bit too heavy-handed with that one. Cause like Hayabusa needs that distance to escape, man. Compared to Lancelot, who can just dash through whatever the heck he wants, this is a massive difference. Okay. Lilia buff. Due to Lilia's skill 2, short casting range, and Gloom's small area of effect after devouring shadow energy, she has struggled in the current meta. So we've increased the cast range of skill 1 and 2, and increased the area of effect. Wow, that's a nice buff actually. Skill 1 cast range increased by 0.5, which is not a lot, but it does make a big difference in a lot of these fringe cases. Skill 2 also a 0.5 range increase, and then the area of effect is also an increase. Okay, nice quality of life, very necessary, because compared to other, like right now, popular mages in the meta are artillery, because you do need that distance to be able to deal with like higher mobility heroes. Plus fights are a lot more scattered, so you want to be able to position yourself well. Lilia is good against like, you know, big team fight comps, like Deathball comps, Ube comps, but still, her range was very low for a mage because she does have some survivability and black shoes, but it made the lack of utility stand out. So extra cast range is very nice, extra AoE is very nice. She's already being used as a bit of a conditional counter pick when a lot of other mages are taken out because the mid lane hero pool is kind of small right now. But this is going to make her popular for dealing with tanks and Deathball comps. If Ube comes back, we can see Lilia come back as well. Okay, Nana adjustment. Adjusted Nana skill damage distribution, right? Increasing skill 1 and decreasing skill 2. Okay, small adjustment then. So plus 100 and 10% magic power on skill 1, minus 100 and 20% magic power on skill 2. Yeah, I guess that's okay. It's actually better because skill 1 is her poke skill. You know, that's the skill that she's actually gonna spam more often. So that means that her damage output is probably a little higher in general. So that's fine, just a small adjustment from Nana, which makes more sense if she wants to play poke mage. Zetian! Adjusted Zetian's damage curve and mana cost to improve late game damage output. Very needed because Zetian just like does no damage right now. Like I think we all know this, Zetian just literally does no damage right now. Alright, what have they done? Damage for her skill 1 first 2 waves have been reduced in terms of base by 50 at early, same late, but plus 20% magic power, which is nice. And then damage for third wave reduced by 25 early with no adjustment to magic power. It doesn't do that much more damage, but it does do more late game when she has items. So I guess that's good. 20% magic power on first 2 waves. It's actually quite a lot, actually, thinking about it. That means it's an extra 40% because it applies to both of the first 2 waves. That's actually a lot, now that I think about it. Mana cost reduced by a lot. 20 early, 50 late. And then a reduced cooldown as well. Okay, okay. So her laning phase is more solid because she's able to spam skill 1 a lot more easily since it's cheaper and has a lower cooldown slightly. And then she will be able to scale better into the late game as well. I think the issue is Zetian is still lacking mobility. The reason Farsa is so good even though like she has to stand still for her ultimate is because she has wings by wings. Zetian doesn't have that. In exchange she has a lot more like, you know, utility with vision. But the mobility is the issue. She's gonna be a lot better at poking. But I'm not sure if that's what we really need of her. Zetian basically needs a way to escape or protect herself more easily, and her passive is just not really enough. So this is a nice improvement in terms of poking, but that's about it. Ooh, Aurora buff. Aurora was slightly underperforming among mages, therefore we've enhanced her overall ability scaling. Skill 2 new effect. Oh! Interesting. Interesting. Her freeze duration scales. So her skill 2 will freeze you longer the more magic power she has. Interesting. Now this is quite a lot. Like the exchange rate is not very nice because, well, freeze time is very valuable. Let's see. On average though, this will get you another like 0.2, 0.3 seconds in the mid game, maybe a little longer in the late game, which can actually make a big difference. It does actually warrant Aurora building more Holy Crystal just to get like flat out stats. Okay. I think that Aurora's still gonna have difficulty because she also lacks mobility similar to Zetian, and her poking abilities are harder to hit as well. They're a little bit slow comparatively. She's gonna be kind of niche still, but this is a very interesting way of switching her up. It's very interesting. I think if they added a bit more of this to her other abilities, then it will actually even out the trade risk of her being kind of a vulnerable mage. Okay, okay. I like the concept, but she needs a bit more to actually be a viable mid lane pick in pro play. Alright, Barat's. The payoff for landing Barat's ultimate was low, while missing it was too punishing. So we've made some adjustments to improve this. If the ultimate misses, cooldown reduced by 15%, which is very nice, you know. That means that you can use Daytona's Welcome as an escape mechanism now as well, because you will get the ultimate cooldown refunded. If the ultimate hits, you gain max... Oh, okay, okay, okay. Okay, you want to start the fight with Daytona's Welcome. Okay, one thing I will say, while it is very nice that Virat has a direct way of getting max stacks of his passive, I don't actually like that it's locked behind his ultimate. Because his ultimate has very high utility value, where you would ideally want to save it for a certain point in the fight, you know, where it's the most valuable to eat someone. For example, if you're contesting Turtle or Lord, you probably don't want to start the fight with Daytona's Welcome. You probably want to eat someone when it's getting close to the retry timing, right? If you can eat your enemy jungler. So you don't want to start the fight with it. But you can still get stacks regularly outside the fight, so I think that's actually okay. 50% cooldown when cast is cancelled. So he no longer gets any big guy stacks upon respawn though. Ooh. HP bonus of the additional damage. Okay, so it does more damage as well based on his total HP. Okay, I like that he gets the cooldown reduction, and I like that it gives him max stacks straight away. But by taking away respawn stacks as well, it means that if you cannot afford to die on Varats, which is tough because he actually is one of the more vulnerable tanks, you know? He doesn't have a lot of ways of getting out. So if he does die before a turtle fight, and a lot of people are going to target him because of this, because they know that he doesn't get any stacks upon respawning, so he has to build up right from the start. But it is a nice quality of life, I think. I don't know, I don't feel like they should have taken away the big guy stacks on respawn. I feel like they could have kept that, because Daytona does have a bit of a difficult time keeping those stacks up compared to heroes like, say, Uranus, for example. And while they've given him ways to access it, it's locked behind a ability that he would rather keep as a utility tool. So it's a nice buff, but I don't know if I agree with the direction that it's taken. Okay, Z-Long buff, okay. Improve Z-Long early and mid-game combat ability, really? Basic attack speed reduced, but physical attack growth increased by quite a lot, actually. That's 2.35 per level, times 14 is like an extra like 30. 30 extra physical attack by late game is actually a fair amount, so that's pretty nice. Passive basic attack damage has a flat number. And then a physical attack scaling. Dragon Flurry has an increased flat number, reduced physical attack scaling. Dragon Flurry trigger condition. Deal damage 3 times. Oh! Whoa! Hold on! This is genuinely a good Z-Long buff. I have to say, this is genuinely a good Z-Long buff. So he gets more physical attack growth, so he is not as reliant on itemization. His basic attacks will do more flat damage without being fully reliant on itemization. And then it's easier to trigger Dragon Flurry as well, like really easy, because he will be able to use his skill 1, skill 2 together quite often. Obviously, he still lags behind in terms of like sustained trading. Like he's still gonna be like not so good against tanky heroes like Terizla. He's gonna have some difficulty matching up to Lapu Lapu, especially since he does need to trade with people. But this will make him a little stronger in the early mid-game, and as we all know, Z-Long struggles the most during those sections. Now, unfortunately, he is still a fighter assassin, so he doesn't have iframes and he needs to get into the thick of the fight. So, unfortunately, even though Z-Long has been buffed, he's still not gonna be played in pro play because the general design concept of his hero is very difficult to make work. But we all know that there's a lot of Z-Long players in pubs, and they're actually going to be quite annoying in lane because Z-Long had surprisingly good sustained trading. He could actually match up to heroes like CC because of his sustained trading. So now that is better, right? So be careful about laning against Z-Long in your rank game, guys. He might be stronger than you think, right? Yeah, in solo rank, he's played in EXP. Do not underestimate the hero. He may be able to trade better with you than you think now. Okay, Lucas really needs a buff. To improve Sacred Beast's viability in the current meta, we've increased his sustained damage capability. Skill 2 cooldown reduced by 2 seconds early, which is nice. And then Lightning Storm's damage is increased. This is nothing. This is not enough. It's a nice 2-second buff to help him trade better in lane, but he's meant to be played as a jungler anyway, so it's not gonna affect him that much. Yeah, this is not enough. Lucas has a big issue of like, he's in and then he has no way out, you know? He has to win the fight or he's dead. And he just doesn't do enough right now, especially compared to heroes like, again, Lapu Lapu, who has ways of getting in and out of fights, various iframes, CC immunity, damage, and sustain. Yeah, Lucas this is not enough, I have to say, unfortunately. He really needs a bit more of something else. Paquito, I love Paquito. Can you buff him more? To let this skill-based fighter unleash combos more frequently, we've made adjustments. Skill 2 cooldown reduced by 1 early, 0.5 late. Honestly, that does help. Ultimate cooldown reduced by 2 early, 1 second late. Okay. I mean, it's nice, but Paquito, I think it's just a numbers game, basically. There's very few EXP laners in the meta right now that can match up to heroes like Lapu Lapu or Arlet or CC. Right? Because they just survive everything and they out-damage everything. And Paquito is one of those issues. Having lower cooldown helps a lot, but his numbers just do not match up, is the problem. That's the issue right now. Like, a lot of... I think they just need to nerf heroes like Lapu Lapu. Like, a lot of the stronger, straight-up fighters in the meta, they just need to nerf them. They are too good. Actually, because like, unless you nerf every other fighter in the game, it is never going to be balanced. Alright, so you need to nerf the top fighters. Again, I love Lapu Lapu, but that man is too much right now. Grok nerf, okay, I think that's necessary. Grok is too much value. Grok boasted incredible durability and could gain control immunity from his passive. So, we've slightly reduced his ability. Grok can still cast skills uninterrupted, but he will be affected by control effects. Oh. Okay. So Grok is no longer always CC immune when casting his abilities. The only thing is his skills cannot be interrupted. Except for his ultimate. His ultimate retains CC immunity, but his skill 1 and 2 no longer do. What this means is, when Grok casts his Mighty Swing or his wall, he will still swing and the wall will still come out, but Grok himself will be crowd controlled. So the skill that he casted initially will still happen, but he will be crowd controlled for the rest of the CC duration. I think that's a very fair trade, because he's still gonna be super bulky, his abilities still grant a lot of control effects overall. He's still gonna be a very high value roamer. He's just a little easier to punish, and I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's a okay adjustment. Okay, Gatot Kacha. Yeah, he needs a nerf. He's too universal. Compared to other tanks, the control duration of Gatot Kacha's skill 2 was too long and easy to cast. His taunt duration will now scale with channel time again. I think it used to do that, then they switched it to fixed, so it's no longer fixed. And then the sprint distance has been reduced early. Okay, I think that's also fine. Gatot Kacha was a bit too high value. He was just one of the safest tanks for you to pick because he can get into fights easily, he can get out of fights easily, Revitalize keeps him alive for a very long time. And then getting a 1.5 second stun no matter how long you hold his skill 2 was probably a bit too valuable. He is still going to be a very, very good tank. But you basically will need to channel his skill 2 for the full duration if you want to really maximize the taunt, which I think is a perfectly fair trade-off. Rewards you for a little bit more skill and risk gameplay, so that's fine. Gatot and Grok are still going to be very popular roamers after this. These are just adjustments to kind of bring them back in line. Okay, Mia buff. Increased her early to mid-game mobility and mid to late game damage. Moonlight Shadow physical attack bonus increased by 5%, inherited portion by 5%, ultimate movement speed 65% at all levels. Okay, pretty big. Mia's ultimate is a very good get out of jail free card, so if she has the movement speed of her final level at level 1, it'll help her out a lot in terms of farming. But it's still an issue of Mia is too simple of a hero, needs too much time to farm, and still doesn't offer the same kind of value heroes like Granger do. So she's not gonna be meta, she just feels better to play for anyone who does want to play Mia. Granger needs so many nerfs, man. Granger has been crowding out other marksmen in the gold lane. To address this, we reduced his early to mid game scaling and damage output. Skill 1 base damage in the late game reduced by 20 and no longer deals additional damage to minions and creeps. Now, this doesn't look like a very big change on paper, but it is actually. His skill 1 damage doesn't affect too much because as long as he snowballs, Skypiercer stacks will generally carry him. But the additional damage to minions and creeps was highly valuable because he cleared waves quickly as a result of it. Compared to other marksmen, Granger is actually supposed to clear waves a little bit slower because he's dependent on his skill 1, and he was able to spam that out and it dealt extra damage to minions and creeps, so he cleared waves very quickly even before he had items. This will directly affect his farm speed and make him farm a lot slower than before, which was one of the issues of Granger being a scaling hero that actually was very effective throughout even the earlier stages of the game. So this is actually a very big impact to Granger because he will farm a lot slower. Like, the whole reason why Granger is picked over every other marksman is because he farms quickly, he pokes well, and his range is super long. He still retains his super long range, so that's like his character as a hero, that's like his unique selling point. But he no longer farms just like crazy, alright? So I think that is very necessary. Does it make him suck? Judah says he just straight up sucks. I don't think he'll straight up suck. But you will feel the difference. Like, he is quite snowball dependent now, whereas in the past, even if he didn't snowball, he would still have very high value. So okay, I think that's fine. Harif nerf as well. Harif has also been crowding other marksmen in the gold lane. To address this, his mid to late game damage has been reduced, while his survivability has been increased to adjust his power curve. Skill 2 enhanced basic attack bonus has been changed from 90% physical plus 90% magic to 100% physical, 60% magic. That makes his item builds a bit weird because he is a magic hero. The shield has been rescaled, so it's the same base, but it has extra 20% magic power up to 3 stacks. And then enhanced basic attacks only deal 50 to 100 and normal basic attack damage to turrets. So Harif doesn't just whack towers super fast with his enhanced skill 2. Okay. Yeah. This is fine actually. Harif did do way too much damage. Like, straight up. And a lot of his poke damage in lane came from his skill 1 actually. So his skill 1 has not been adjusted. He still hits like a stupid truck with a synchro fission. But Chrono Dash now has been rescaled. He has a little bit more additional survivability in the late game, but it's less easy to build up a massive shield regardless. And then his general magic power scaling has been reduced by a lot. 30% reduction in magic power is a lot, I'll tell you guys right now. Harif before this hit his power spike after his Holy Crystal timing. I think now he only truly hits his power spike after his Divine Glaive timing. So Harif might not be that popular in the gold lane anymore, especially since heroes like Esmeralda and Lunox, which are designed to counter him, are gaining popularity as well. So yeah, I think this is necessary. Maybe this will allow other gold laners to actually be played. Okay, alright. Alright, battlefield adjustments. I'm gonna try and rush through this, guys, because I need to go very, very soon, and I still haven't showered. So I'm gonna try and go through this quickly. So, we've got stat adjustments. We've noticed in high rank matches, more fighters are taking the gold lane, limiting the viability of marksmen. Therefore, we've made battlefield adjustments to address this. In Mythical Honor Battlefield, gold lane siege minions give extra gold, so that helps marksmen farm up a little faster. The whole reason why fighters are so popular is because you get a lot less gold compared to the past. So this helps adjust a bit of that. The base turrets and the base also are tankier, so you do ideally want marksmen to be able to take structures. Alright, yeah, I think that's not bad. I think they're adjusting it so that it's not like, because there was a patch a little while back where gold laners were just too strong. And you would have like triple marksman meta because they just farmed way too quickly and had way more advantage because of this. So they don't want to increase the gold gain from everything too quickly. Siege minions giving an extra 10% is allowing them to test the waters a bit to see whether this will help bring marksmen back. And by adjusting the HP values of structures across the map, you kind of need marksmen to be able to contest towers more easily. Okay, roaming blessings. Different type of roaming heroes have different playstyles, so we've reworked how some roaming blessings gain extra gold and EXP. As match time increases, gold from minions rises, while vision reveals and damage opportunities for roamers decrease. So, we've adjusted the reward values for roaming heroes' different actions to balance the gold income of different roaming styles. So, all blessings, gold gain from vision reveal has been increased, so it now increases by your hero level. EXP gain from vision reveal has also changed to 25 plus 5 times hero level across the game. It doesn't double after 2 minutes. Gold gained every 5 seconds after 8 minutes has been increased. EXP gained every 5 seconds after 8 minutes has been increased. So roamers will be able to keep up in level a little bit easier. I think that's good. Conceal and Dire Hit does not gain income from minions increased killed by nearby allies. Gain 30 plus 2 times hero level gold and 20 plus 8 times hero level EXP after dealing damage. Ooh. Huh. This makes sense for Dire Hit, but for Conceal? So for those of you who don't understand what this means is, you no longer get some shared gold from minions and creeps nearby when allies kill them. Instead, you only gain that extra income and EXP from poking your opponents. And this makes sense for Dire Hit, because if you are playing more aggressive roamers like Hellkurt roam or Hilda, Khalid roam, then yeah, you will be able to deal damage to your opponents quite frequently. The problem is Conceal is not always used on aggressive heroes. So to maximize this, roamers really need to be active and make sure they hit someone every 15 seconds. Encourage and Favor will still get income from minions and creeps killed by nearby allies. So that encourages Ube strategies, which I guess makes sense. Oh, but Encourage also gives extra hybrid defense. Wow, that's actually a lot. 20 hybrid defense from Encourage passively? Damn. Interesting. So as we all know, the most popular of our roaming blessings in the meta are Conceal and Encourage, right? And almost every roamer uses Conceal because the movement speed and the slight visibility reduction is helpful for you to make it to fights more easily and go for ganks. If you want to do that though, you have to be active. You have to not only get vision, you have to actually hit your opponent. But honestly, I don't think that's too difficult actually. You will get a lot of opportunities to hit your opponent, I think no matter what game it is, even if you're playing on a less aggressive tank. Like even heroes like Estes will be able to poke with skill 2 fairly easily, and it's every 15 seconds, so it's not even that frequently. I think this is fine. It shouldn't affect things too much, but it does make you want to play more aggressive, which, you know what? Yeah, sure. Hello Sdafhaa, how you been? Hello Shuhei, I'm doing alright, but I'm trying to rush through the rest of this so that I can go out very soon. I still need to shower. Demon Hunter Sword buff. Enhanced hero sustain provided by the 3-piece attack speed equipment set, aka the Marksman Trinity. Removed 8% lifesteal, but reworked the passive. Basic attacks no longer grant 2% lifesteal. It's now each basic attack recovering a flat HP and counts as an attack effect. Interesting. So this goes up to at 15, 4 times 15, 60, 80 HP and counts as an attack effect. So with Golden Staff, that actually doubles to 160. This makes it better for marksmen, not as good for fighters. Which makes sense because this is a marksman item. Because marksmen don't have as much flat lifesteal, so the percentage lifesteal stat means that they don't get as much value from it. Right? So by giving it a flat number that scales based on level, no matter the base stats of the hero using it, it will always heal the same amount. So it has greater value for low HP heroes with not a lot of natural lifesteal base that is provided by stats like the fighter emblem, right? So this actually helps marksman a lot, and since it counts as an attack effect, it helps with pairing up with golden staff and other items that work off of attack effects. Okay, why not? But there is one funny thing about this. There are certain non-marksman heroes that scale off of attack effects or use attack effects. For example, Zask. So what happens if Zask uses Demon Hunter Sword, you know? Hold on. Let me get some water real quick. I haven't had a drink this whole time. Oh, I needed that. This is a longer patch than I thought. Yeah, I'm wondering what happens if heroes like Zask use Demon Hunter Sword. Rose Gold Meteor. Adjusted equipment scaling to make it easier to reach max hybrid defense from equipment. Remove dependency on lifesteal from basic attacks to improve flexibility. And reduce physical attack for balance. I'm gonna need to see the stats, I don't understand. Physical attack reduced by 10. Every 1% lifesteal increases hybrid defense by 1. Change to every 4 extra physical attack increases hybrid defense by 1. Okay, once again, way better for marksmen. And still works on fighters. Because once again, marksmen don't actually have that much natural lifesteal, so this actually ended up benefiting fighters like Alucard and Julian more than marksmen. But now it benefits both, because they will always have physical attack, and that helps. And Lifeline only triggers from taking damage from enemy heroes. So you won't accidentally trigger Rose Gold Meteor Shield if you take damage from jungle minions, Lord, and towers. Which means that Rose Gold Meteor no longer helps you in tower diving unless you are directly fighting an opponent. So that's something to keep in mind, everyone. Queen's Wings also only activates after taking damage from enemy heroes. So direct nerfs the heroes who are using this to dive towers or like fight Lord, because you can't really do that anymore. But not a lot of people were doing that in the first place, so it just fixes some things. Ice Retribution has been control and kiting potential reduced. Movement speed stolen reduced by 20 flat, which is a lot actually. 20 movement speed is a notable amount. Like if we look at the items, wrong tab. If we look at the items, if we look at basic shoes, where am I going? 20 movement speed is boots. It is your entire boots. So that actually makes a big difference and might veer some people away from picking Ice Retribution. And then Vengeance, nerf. We found that some offensive fighters using Vengeance pose too great a threat to the backline, so we reduced its damage to the attacker. Damage. Okay, so basically Vengeance reflects a little less damage. So this is also an indirect buff to marksmen, because they're right. Alright, heroes like CC or Esmeralda using Vengeance just made them way too difficult to kill, not to mention if you wanted to use a marksman against it, you just couldn't, because they were killing themselves. So this is just a nice little nerf, but I wonder if it is enough, because marksmen will probably still end up killing themselves. Okay, anything else? Any other adjustments? I think that's it, everyone. I think that is it. So, some final thoughts before I finish off this patch note review. I think they've made some nice adjustments that might allow marksmen to return to the fray. The gold lane adjustments to make you farm a little bit faster compared to before will help. Then Vengeance nerfs, Demon Hunter Sword buff is quite nice. And then nerfing heroes like Granger and Harif should allow other marksmen to be a little bit more viable. Issue is, I feel like fighters are still gonna be very strong in general, and I'm amazed they didn't nerf Lapu Lapu. What they did buff though was tanks. Damage Tigreal is something that we may genuinely have to try out after all of this. And then they also buffed all the healers. Well, not all of them, but some of them, especially this guy right here, which... Why? Like, this is so much of a buff, actually. Like, I really think they should have nerfed Lapu. I really think they should have nerfed Lance. Because those two heroes are a little bit too good. I like the adjustments to Granger and Harith, though maybe a bit heavy-handed. Hayabusa, I really think they could have nerfed a bit less. Grok and Gatot are good adjustments. Lucas probably needs more. Zilong is interesting. Barath needs more. Aurora needs more. Zetian will feel better. Lilia will feel better. Atlas and Kufra are a bit okay. Johnson and Tigreal will feel a lot better. Lolita still needs something else. Raph and Angela will return for sure. Leomord needs testing but has potential. Zusin might be a little dead. Freya has potential but is a bit niche. The Roam Blessing shouldn't actually affect gameplay all that much since most roamers will still be able to poke regardless, so I think that most of them can still go conceal if they want to. But yeah, will we see big meta changes? No, not until they nerf Lapu Lapu. But we'll probably see a little less of Harith and Granger every game. The roamers are gonna remain largely the same. Mid lane, largely the same. Jungler, maybe a slight difference, but they should have nerfed Lancelot. And yeah, I guess that's everything. I'm getting a voice call. Alright, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and finish off this patch note review there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think as well of the changes, right? Do you guys think they're good? Do you guys think they're bad? Will we still see something different? I feel like fighter gold lane is still going to be meta, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of wish they changed a little bit more in regards to that, but I can see signs that they are trying to do so. So I'm gonna be clipping this out to post on YouTube a little bit later on, maybe on Sunday since I will be busy tomorrow. But for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, make sure you guys drop a like and a subscribe on my channel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And yeah, we'll see how Sora, as well as all these changes, will affect the pro play meta and the pub play meta. And I will see you guys on the next video.